Hey, good day. Welcome back to Candace Sister Medicate. I'm getting my wake and bake on and thought I should share since we were recently talking about airplane stories, that I will share the story of how dude thought he was going to check me out of my seat. The last story I told was a few years ago. I really don't remember. Dang, my hands are greasy. This ain't the time to be trying to work with a grinder when your hands are greasy. Anyway, but this trip was just not even a month ago, a few weeks ago. Okay, I had to wash my hands. So this was a few weeks ago. I was flying back home, and to describe the plane, it was two seats on one side, an aisle, two seats on the other side. So it just wasn't a big, it wasn't a big plane. It wasn't a long flight. A little over an hour, no big deal. Whatever boarding group I was in, I was already on the plane before, and it was like second to last seat, so it was all the way in the back. And I was sitting in the aisle seat because that's what I purchased. And so there was something going on in the aisle and next to me, but the person behind because there was a teenager there, and the flight attendant was trying to figure out where his seat was, and he's like, "I'm waiting on my mom on the boarding pass," whatever. The guy behind him kind of leaned over him towards me and was like, "Oh, I think you're in the wrong seat. You're in my seat." Me knowing where my seat is, I said, "Oh, are you in D?" which was my seat. And he says, "Oh, no, I'm in F." So I say, "Oh, great. You're at the window. It's just two seats, y'all." So anyway, then he says, like he's trying to go back and forth, and like, I'm thinking, what's the? So he didn't really, I just saw him kind of hemming and hawing because the space wasn't clear for anybody to do any moving yet. So I reached up, because I'm pretty tall, my arms are long. I reached up and I pointed to the diagram, which I wish I took a picture of, but if you've been on a plane where they have the two seats on American, on one aisle, it's A and C. On the other aisle, it's D and F. So it doesn't make sense, but they have a diagram that shows if you're in D, you're next to a person, which means you're in the aisle. And if you're in F, you're next to the window. They have the diagram right there. So I pointed at him. I pointed at the diagram and I said, F is by the window. So then he's just like, I think you might be right. Again, I'm thinking, what do you mean think? Of course I am. But anyway, there's a diagram there. So now the aisle clears up, and I get up now because you have to get through me to get to the window because I'm sitting in the aisle seat. So he's staring at me and looking at him. And then he puts his bags in the overhead. It's like he was just standing there and was just like, okay. Well, then he takes his bag, throws it in the overhead. He takes his laptop, puts it on my seat. Takes another bag, puts it on my seat. Mind you, underneath my seat, I already have my book bag and like a smaller little bag. It's already pushed up under the seat in front of me because I know the person going towards the window needs space to like walk through. So I stand up, so I let him in. Again, he puts a laptop on my seat and then a bag on my seat. And I'm standing in the aisle. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. And he looks at me. And I look at, you know what I mean? I'm like, So then he eventually just grabs his stuff and like goes sits in the window or goes sits by the window. And then I go sit down. I put my headphones on and we're going to continue the flight. The next course of action just would have been, well, let me get the flight attendant to explain to you how to view your boarding pass. That way you can understand your plane ticket. Because if anyone's not familiar with, how plane tickets work, when you book, there's a seating chart. There's a diagram. It tells you where the front of the plane is, where the back of the plane is, if you're in the aisle or a window. So when he booked that ticket, he knew he had a window. He could have been confused on the travels and all that. Again, that's fine to be confused, but you didn't come confused. You came convicted and assured that I was just in the wrong seat and I was in your seat. And I just really thought I was confused on why he thought I was going to get up from my aisle seat so he can sit in the aisle seat. I was just really confused. Then of course he brings up all these laptops and everything, just a typing. I just recently saw Llewell's like 30-minute comedy special about people on the airplane, and that cracked me up because I just saw it that weekend. And then I flew in and saw that, yeah, the guy was just tapping on his laptop. But again, that none of that bothered me. He was trying to hum and be like annoying, and the headphones did me fine. Like I said, it wasn't that long of a flight, but I was just confused on what the thought process was. Now, of course, being a bigger person, there really was no middle seat. I didn't even have a problem moving to the window had I been asked nicely and respectfully. Not an assumption I'm just gonna go ahead and move the way you want me to move. So no. But anyway, wow, that's pretty long. I didn't realize it was that long of a video. But anyway, yeah. Let me know, has this happened to you? Have you been tried out of your seat or somebody tried to get you to move? What happened?